Hello, my name is John Rennie Short and I teach in the Department of Public Policy at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And today I want to speak about a paper that was published in Geography Compass. This paper was published along with my two colleagues, Bernadette Hanlon and Tom Buccino. The topic of our paper was to look at the inner ring suburbs in US metropolitan areas. The background to this study is the obvious point that there's been a massive suburbanization in the United States, particularly marked since the 1950s, when more and more people moved from the central city out to the new and expanding suburbs. The United States was often characterized as a central city beset by increasing problems, especially during the 1960s and 1970s, and almost a suburban utopia beyond the city limits where a more affluent middle class inhabited a built environment of pleasant housing and good schools. Fast forward to the present day, and we wanted to re-examine this assertion of central city decline and suburban expansion. And we did this by breaking down the data, which is often just put in terms of the broad categories of central city and suburban periphery. We broke it down to look at central census place data that allowed us to have a finer grain analysis of what was going on in the suburbs. And what we identified was an inner ring of suburbs predominantly built between 1950s and 1970s that are increasingly seen as having problems. And these problems include housing deterioration, population loss, job loss, and a general lack of investment. In the ever-changing US metropolitan area, the last 30 years has seen increased investment in central city associated with gentrification, move back to the central city, especially by young single person or non-child households for whom the suburban schools are not really an attraction. And a much further suburban expansion out towards what's often been referred to as the exurbs. Here, larger building lots allow much more extravagant housing. So loft living in the central city for the yuppies, and much more expansive living in the outer suburbs for the more affluent. And that's left the inner ring suburbs falling between the cracks of these major investment cycles. Now, not all inner ring suburbs are problematic. Those with an older housing stock close to cities with dynamic economies have done particularly well. The problems are most concentrated, as I said, in suburbs built between 1950s and 1970s, often in economies which have seen massive job loss through industrialization. And here we actually use the term suburban Gothic to combine the notion of suburbia with the notion of dark and brooding Gothic qualities. And these qualities, as I said, include population loss, housing deterioration, job loss, fiscal crisis, especially if the inner ring suburb is a municipality in its own right. So the take-home message from our paper is that there's a recurring issue of suburban crises, particularly marked in the inner ring suburbs. And here the traditional problems associated with the central city seem to have sort of migrated out towards this inner ring. So the notion of suburban utopia is seriously undermined and questioned by our paper. So I hope you enjoy reading it, and we'd appreciate any feedback you have in it. So thank you very much.